Grogu.
Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in The Mandalorian Chapter 13. First of all, if you're not familiar with Ahsoka Tano, we have a video out that dives into her whole backstory. Now this video will contain some spoilers for Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. The episode takes place in the city of Caladan on planet Corvus. These are both references to Frank Herbert's Dune. Caladan is the homeworld of House Atreides, and Alpha Corvus was a planet destroyed by the army of Jihad. Thank you, Dune Wiki. Dune was one of George Lucas's many influences when he created Star Wars, which is why he included a reference to the spice melange in A New Hope.
We'll be sent to the spice mines of Kessel.
So, for all of you fans of the Clone Wars, how badass was it seeing Ahsoka Tano in live action? Now this episode was written and directed by her co-creator Dave Filoni, so there was a lot of love in every frame. Rosario Dawson was great in this role too. She really embodies the older, stoic version of the character that we saw in Star Wars Rebels. Now some of you are going to be like, oh, her talking to this lady up there must be a reference to this scene in Game of Thrones, right? But the real nerds know it's a reference to this.
I'm French! Why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly king?
The big bad of the episode, Morgan Elsbeth, is played by stuntwoman Diana Lee Inosanto. But next to her, wearing repurposed Stormtrooper armor, is, holy crap, Michael Biehn. You may remember him from such films as Terminator, Tombstone, or from this cameo my friend Phil sent me for my birthday.
Hi Ryan, this is Michael Biehn.
The title of the episode is The Jedi, but I don't think this is referencing Ahsoka. She actually left the Jedi Order before finishing her training. I think it could be a reference to the Jedi Order, but it's more clearly referencing the former Padawan, Grogu. I mean, I guess that's what we call him now, but he's always going to be Baby Yoda to me. He wants the little gear shift knob from the control stick, a callback to these moments from Chapter 2. Later in this episode, this ball is used to symbolize their bond.
Good job.
Which is very sweet, because we first knew that Din was warming up to him when he gave him the knob at the end of Chapter 3. When Din lands, this visual was very reminiscent of this scene in A New Hope. The prisoners are being kept in stasis tubes, very similar to what we saw Grand Admiral Thrawn use against Hera in Rebels. Now this is a big hint that the Magistrate is associated with Thrawn, but look, I'll explain Thrawn a little bit later in the video. These stasis cages are modeled after the medieval torture cages, similar to the one that held Mad Mardigan and Willow. Morgan offers him a spear of Beskar, which could be a Beva Ragar, the Mandalorian hunting spear that appeared in the novel Republic Commandos Order 66. When Din and Ahsoka duel, he wraps her up in his cable, a move Boba Fett pulled on Luke that turned out about the same way. When Ahsoka retells Grogu's origin, she references the fall of the Jedi Temple and the events of Revenge of the Sith. Looks like Anakin missed one. I love that he was a student at the temple. First, it ties this show back to the prequels, and I'm a sucker for any time the original trilogy links back to the prequels. Like when we saw Super Battle Droids last season, I love any reference to the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars were a different thing.
You forgot about the essence of the game. It's about the cones.
But most importantly, it explains why Grogu is so well trained in the Force. So when he stopped the Mudhorn in Chapter 2, I thought, well, that's dumb. He's only a baby. So I'm glad that the show has acknowledged that it takes years of training to use the Force. It's not like you can just think real hard and do a mind trick out of nowhere.
You will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
So after he was hidden away, he cuts himself off from the Force, much like Luke did during his exile. Ahsoka says,
I've only known one other being like this.
And then, as she describes Yoda, his theme from The Empire Strikes Back plays.
A wise Jedi master named Yoda.
Now it's very interesting that Grogu and Yoda are the only members of Yoda's species that she's ever seen, because she grew up at the temple, meaning that she never saw Grogu there. Also, Palpatine has a history of kidnapping Force-sensitive children that I covered in full in our Baby Yoda origin video. Check that out if you have time. I'm actually linking that and other relevant vids down in the description.
Plug it in, plug it in.
Now, I'm willing to bet that because of his slowed aging process, Grogu wasn't trained with the other younglings, and that's why Ahsoka didn't know him. So that means that he was a special case, held away from the others. Maybe that's because he was the secret love child of Yoda and Yaddle. She was the Jedi Council member of Yoda's species from Phantom Menace, who was mysteriously never spoken of again after that film. Maybe because she was shunned by the Order for having a child out of wedlock with Yoda.
Tired Yoda is. Resign, he will.
Probably not, but let me know if you think Yoda is related to Grogu down in the comments. Like, maybe he's his nephew or something. When Ahsoka explains the Force, she crypts a few lines from Obi-Wan's description.
It is an energy field, created by
all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us.
Now, If you're wondering why Den doesn't know about the Force, but 3 episodes ago he said this,
May the Force be with you.
let me explain. Saying, "May the Force be with you," is a customary farewell among the New Republic, as it was in the Rebel Alliance.
And may the Force be with you. May the Force be with us.
So Den is actually saying this to these guys so they know that he's cool and so they'll get off his back. Ahsoka refuses to train GROGU, saying,
I sense much fear in you.
the same line Yoda used in Phantom Menace to describe Anakin.
I sense much fear in you.
And that's an apt comparison. Ahsoka sees his attachment to Den, and remember, one of the pillars of the Jedi Code is that
attachment is for men.
So when she says,
I've seen what such feelings can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight. To the best of us.
She's obviously referencing Anakin Skywalker. During the Clone Wars, she was Anakin's Padawan, before leaving the Order after becoming disillusioned by the Jedi Council. Now this also contributed to Anakin's distrust of the Council in Episode 3.
How can you be on the Council and not be a master?
Anakin's attachment to Padme made him use the Force for selfish reasons. And Ahsoka doesn't want GROGU going down the same dark path.
His attachment to you makes him vulnerable to his fears. His anger.
And Baby Yoda's been kind of a brat this season, but we already saw him start down a dark path back in Chapter 7. When he thinks Den is threatened, he immediately displays dark side tendencies. And by the way, these soldiers are carrying...
Armed with A350 blaster rifles.
Damn it, Den, that's my job. Let me finish. And these droids are...
2 HK-87 assassin droids.
Okay, fine. Actually, I thought these were Grievous's assassin droids, so thank you. But I'm still doing the your mom joke. Now, Morgan Elsbeth has a familiar backstory.
During the Clone Wars, her people were massacred.
Her family was destroyed in the Clone Wars, just like Den's. But also, in a way, just like Ahsoka's family, because the war destroyed her extended family, the Jedi Order. This droid speaks Huttese. And that's a neat little detail because it implies that the assassin droids were built by the criminal syndicate. Even the architecture of this building seems inspired by Jabba's palace. But that palace actually used to be a monastery of the Bomar monks before the Hutts took it over. So it's possible that something similar happened here, with the magistrate driving the monks out of this building as well. Here's an interesting cameo from this episode. The guy who becomes a magistrate at the end of the chapter is named Wing Dao Chao, and he is a legendary Disney Imagineer. There's also a Lothcat in the streets. That's a creature that we first saw in Star Wars Rebels, but we actually saw live action last season. Also, one of my Twitter followers, @Smalls, pointed out that this moment seems like a callback to this scene in Star Wars Rebels. It's a really good catch. Another user, Jack Kennedy, no relation, noted that after she loses her second saber, Ahsoka's fighting style returns to her original Shoto form from the Clone Wars series. The owl in this tree could be Morai, Ahsoka's fourth spirit animal that I explained more fully in that Ahsoka Tano video I mentioned earlier.
Plug it in, plug it in.
The episode climaxes... Stop it. The episode ends with two very different kinds of duels. Star Wars has always been strongly influenced by westerns and samurai films, especially the works of Akira Kurosawa. And just look at this. How Kurosawa is this? So it's appropriate that the chapter ends with a Western-style duel and a samurai-style duel. The fight in the garden may remind some of you of Kill Bill Volume 1, but that movie was actually an homage to this scene from Lady Snowblood, which probably influenced Dave Filoni. So we learned that Ahsoka is looking for...
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Okay, now this could be a whole other Explains video, but I'll keep it short. Thrawn was a Grand Admiral in the Imperial Navy. He was actually from the unknown regions of the galaxy and was recruited by Palpatine after the Empire was formed. He was probably the best tactical mind in the Empire. He could examine a piece of art and tell you about the weaknesses of the person or culture who made it.
From my own analysis, I have determined that these shapes represent individuals important to you at some time in your life.
At the end of the show Star Wars Rebels, spoiler, he's facing off with a young Jedi Padawan named Ezra Bridger. Ezra summons interstellar space whales to destroy Thrawn's fleet. Then he uses them to transport himself, Thrawn, and all of his ships to some unknown part of the galaxy. And if you haven't read the Thrawn trilogy of novels, you really should. They're not canon anymore, but they're still some of the best Star Wars ever written. So Rebels ends with Ahsoka searching for Ezra along with his good friend, a Mandalorian named Sabine Wren. So now it appears that she's still hunting for him, but Sabine isn't around. And I don't think we'll find out why in this show. This episode felt like a backdoor pilot to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if an Ahsoka live-action series is announced soon. Chances are that it's going to have a sad ending though. At the end of Rise of Skywalker, one of the voices that Rey hears was the voice of Ahsoka. And you know what that means.
You said people gonna die?
Ahsoka tells Din,
Go to the planet Tython. There you will find the ancient ruins of a temple that has a strong connection to the Force.
Now, the Empire tried to wipe out every Jedi temple, but the Order had stash houses all over the galaxy. Ezra and Kanan find one in Rebels, and Luke was hiding out in the first Jedi temple in Force Awakens. The planet she references, Tython, first appeared in the novel Darth Bane Rule of Two, then mostly in the Old Republic video games. But in the current continuity, it's only appeared in the comics. The planet is very strong with the Force, and it's the location of one of the Jedi Order's first temples. And actually, Darth Vader visits this world in the comics, when he was tricked into thinking it's the location of the Rebel base.
Place Grogu on the Seeing Stone at the top of the mountain.
Ahsoka also mentions a Seeing Stone, which could be similar to the rock that Rey and Luke used to meditate in The Last Jedi. Perhaps these stones are beacons for the Force that allow users to communicate across the galaxy.
If he reaches out through the Force, there's a chance a Jedi may sense his presence and come searching for him.
If so, who do you think Grogu will contact? Maybe Luke Skywalker? Maybe Ezra from Star Wars Rebels? Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. The lingering mystery after this chapter is who saved Grogu from the temple and why did they abandon him? Well, if you pay attention to the prequels and the comic books, there's only one character that fits the bill. Your mom.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's all the Easter eggs that I found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.